Is that McDonald right there?
Yeah.
Go with McDonald. Go with McDonald's team. We're taking the shot right here. We need to be online.
300 United States Marines, not a company conducting patrol, not a platoon providing security. 300 of the most elite warriors on the planet, handpicked from Force Reconnaissance and Marine Raider battalions, assembled to eliminate what intelligence agencies called the most heavily defended drug convoy in cartel history. Their target, a mechanized procession of death stretching across 8 miles of Mexican highway, carrying enough narcotics to poison entire cities and protected by what the cartel believed was an impenetrable wall of firepower. If you're from the US and you support our military, let us know by subscribing. The Gulf Cartel had spent 18 months preparing what they called Operación Fortaleza, Operation Fortress, 87 vehicles moving in military formation with security that had been designed by former military officers from 3 different nations. Armored personnel carriers mounting heavy machine guns led the convoy. Technical vehicles bristling with anti-aircraft weapons provided air defense. Cargo trucks reinforced with steel plating carried $12 billion in fentanyl, cocaine, and heroin. A mobile command center coordinated the operation using encrypted military communications. But their most lethal innovation was tactical discipline. Unlike previous convoys that moved with criminal disorganization, this force operated with precision that rivaled legitimate armies. Scout teams monitored for threats using professional reconnaissance techniques. Electronic warfare specialists jammed surveillance frequencies with equipment stolen from military sources. Even their route selection followed military doctrine designed to minimize vulnerability while maximizing defensive advantages. The cartel believed they had created something unstoppable. Their convoy could defeat any Mexican military unit through superior firepower and training. Local law enforcement would be helpless against such overwhelming force. Even American border security would be forced to retreat when faced with a mechanized army moving with criminal determination and military precision. They had never faced 300 Marines who had been tracking their every move for 6 months. The operation to destroy the convoy had been designated Devil Dogs, a reference to the Marine Corps nickname earned through legendary ferocity in combat. This wasn't interdiction or arrest. This was total warfare against enemies who had declared war on American communities through industrial-scale poisoning. These Marines had been selected from the most elite units in the Corps. Force Reconnaissance operators trained in deep penetration missions, Marine Raiders specializing in direct action operations, and Scout snipers capable of eliminating targets at distances exceeding 2 miles. For months, Marine intelligence specialists had been conducting the most comprehensive surveillance operation in Corps history. Every cartel member had been identified through facial recognition analysis. Every vehicle had been tracked from acquisition to weaponization. Every communication had been intercepted and decoded by cryptographic experts. The convoy that believed itself invisible was actually under constant observation by surveillance networks that recorded their every movement. But the Marines' greatest advantage wasn't technology. It was their approach to warfare. Where other forces might rely on overwhelming numbers or superior firepower, Marines specialized in using superior tactics, training, and aggression to defeat larger enemy forces. 300 Marines, properly positioned and coordinated, could eliminate enemy forces 10 times their size through precision, violence of action, and the legendary Marine Corps fighting spirit. The ambush site had been chosen with tactical brilliance, a narrow canyon where the convoy would be channeled into a kill zone with no escape routes. Rocky terrain that provided perfect concealment for Marine positions while offering commanding fields of fire. Desert approaches that would prevent the convoy from dispersing to minimize damage. Most importantly, the remote location ensured that the annihilation could proceed without endangering innocent lives. Intelligence indicated that the convoy was approaching the kill zone with maximum confidence and minimum alertness. The cartel believed they were entering the most secure portion of their route, where previous operations had proceeded without interference. Security was focused on potential threats from Mexican authorities, rather than the possibility that American forces were already in position. As dawn approached over the Mexican desert, the convoy continued its advance with mechanical precision. Vehicle commanders monitored their assigned sectors through advanced optics. Communication specialists maintained encrypted contact with cartel leadership. Electronic warfare teams scanned for surveillance signals, detecting nothing unusual in the electromagnetic spectrum. None of them knew that 300 Marines were already in position, having infiltrated the canyon over 3 nights, using insertion methods that left no trace of their presence. Scout sniper teams occupied positions on every ridgeline with clear views of the entire route. Heavy weapons teams had established firing positions that could engage the convoy from multiple directions simultaneously. Assault teams were concealed behind rock formations, ready to engage at close range with devastating firepower. The Marines had been planning this operation with the methodical precision that had made the Corps legendary. Every Marine knew his specific target, his backup targets, and his contingency plans. Communications were tested and ready. Weapons were zeroed and prepared. Most importantly, every Marine understood that this wasn't just another mission. This was a chance to demonstrate why the Marine Corps motto, Semper Fi Fidelis, meant that Marines would always be faithful to the mission of protecting American lives. The convoy was approaching the kill zone with complete confidence, unaware that they were driving into a demonstration of Marine Corps precision, violence, and tactical superiority that would be remembered as one of the most devastating small unit actions in military history. Part 2. Death from every direction. At exactly 6:27 hours, the Mexican desert erupted into coordinated violence as 300 Marines struck the convoy with precision that showcased why the Corps was considered the world's most elite fighting force. The surprise was so complete that cartel security teams had no time to identify threats before they were eliminated by weapons fired from positions they never suspected were occupied. The first kills came from scout sniper teams positioned on ridgelines that commanded the entire valley. Using .50 caliber rifles capable of penetrating armored vehicle walls, Marine marksmen began systematically eliminating key personnel with shots that were invisible to the convoy until their targets simply stopped moving. Convoy commanders coordinating defensive positions through encrypted radios slumped forward as precision rounds found them from distances exceeding a mile. Communications specialists monitoring frequencies died at their stations, cutting off coordination between convoy elements. But this was only the opening movement of a symphony of destruction that would demonstrate the difference between criminal organization and Marine Corps precision. From concealed positions throughout the canyon, Marine heavy weapons teams opened fire with weapons that had been specifically chosen for maximum effectiveness against armored targets. TOW missile systems engaged the convoy's most heavily protected vehicles, their wire-guided warheads punching through steel plating that had been designed to stop small arms fire. Each impact created secondary explosions as fuel tanks ignited and ammunition cooked off in chain reactions that spread destruction throughout the convoy formation. The convoy's sophisticated electronic warfare systems, designed to jam enemy communications and detect surveillance, became useless against enemies who were already in position and coordinating through secure networks that operated on frequencies the cartel couldn't access. Anti-aircraft weapons that had been positioned to defend against aerial reconnaissance found themselves targeted by Marines who attacked from ground positions that made air defense systems irrelevant. One armored personnel carrier, its crew desperately trying to bring their heavy machine gun to bear on suspected Marine positions, was engaged simultaneously by 3 different teams using coordinated fire. A TOW missile eliminated the vehicle's engine, immobilizing it in the kill zone. Sniper fire eliminated the gunner and commander through vision ports that had seemed protected. Finally, a squad automatic weapon raked the vehicle with sustained fire that prevented any survivors from escaping. The convoy tried to implement defensive procedures that had been developed by professional military advisors, but every response was anticipated and countered by Marines who had studied enemy tactics and developed specific techniques to defeat them. Smoke grenades designed to provide concealment were useless against Marines who had already identified target priorities and could engage through thermal imaging systems. Suppressing fire meant to force attackers to seek cover was ineffective against opponents who were positioned beyond the range of convoy weapons. But the cartel fighters weren't helpless victims. These were experienced personnel who understood military tactics, and they began implementing responses based on training received from legitimate armies. Heavy weapons teams attempted to establish fields of fire that would suppress Marine positions. Security elements tried to break out of the kill zone using armored vehicles as mobile cover, while infantry provided supporting fire. Some tactics showed brief effectiveness. A technical vehicle mounting a heavy machine gun managed to force one Marine team to adjust their position by maintaining sustained fire on their suspected location. But the victory was momentary. Within minutes, the gun position was eliminated by precision fire from a scout sniper team that had been tracking the vehicle since it entered the canyon. Marine raider teams, moving through terrain that provided perfect concealment, began engaging convoy elements with close-quarters tactics that had been perfected in combat zones worldwide. Using suppressed weapons and coordinated movement, they eliminated security teams and convoy leadership with surgical precision that left other defenders unable to understand where the attacks were coming from. The psychological impact on surviving convoy personnel was devastating beyond anything they had experienced. These men had joined the operation because they believed their overwhelming firepower and professional security made them invincible. Now they were trapped in a canyon with enemies they couldn't see, couldn't locate, and couldn't engage using any conventional tactics. Force Reconnaissance Marines, trained in deep penetration operations behind enemy lines, began the systematic destruction of convoy vehicles that contained the most valuable drug shipments. Rather than simply destroying the trucks, these specialists used precisely placed charges that eliminated both vehicles and cargo while preserving intelligence materials that could support future operations. As the engagement progressed, the convoy's attempts at organized resistance collapsed under the precision and coordination of Marine tactics. Units that tried to establish defensive positions found themselves engaged from multiple directions by Marines who used terrain and superior positioning to maintain tactical advantage. Communications between convoy elements became impossible as key personnel were eliminated and radio equipment was destroyed by precision fire. The few convoy vehicles that attempted to escape the kill zone discovered that every route had been anticipated and blocked by Marine teams positioned at strategic choke points. Vehicles that tried to flee through narrow canyon exits found themselves engaged by Marines who had established perfect ambush positions with clear fields of fire and no possibility of effective return fire. The cargo trucks carrying billions in narcotics became priority targets for Marines, equipped with specialized weapons designed to destroy both vehicles and contents. High-explosive rounds ignited fuel systems that spread fires to drug shipments, creating toxic smoke clouds as millions of dollars in narcotics were consumed by flames that would burn for hours. As the engagement entered its final phase, the scope of Marine precision became undeniable. 87 vehicles, representing years of cartel preparation and billions in investment, were being systematically eliminated by 300 Marines, who demonstrated why superior training, tactics, and fighting spirit could defeat enemy forces regardless of their size or equipment advantages. When the last shots echoed through the canyon and the fires burned down to smoking ruins, the Mexican desert bore witness to one of the most devastating small unit victories in Marine Corps history. 87 vehicles carrying $12 billion in narcotics and protected by the most sophisticated cartel security force ever assembled lay scattered across 8 miles of canyon floor as twisted metal and ash. But for 300 Marines, the destruction of the convoy was only the beginning of an operation designed to ensure that the cartel's capabilities could never be reconstructed or replicated. As Marine intelligence specialists moved through the wreckage with methodical precision, the true scope of the victory became apparent. This wasn't just about destroying drugs. It was about capturing organizational intelligence that would allow American authorities to dismantle cartel operations across multiple continents. Every document that survived the destruction was photographed and analyzed. Every piece of communication equipment was examined for intelligence value. Every tactical innovation was studied to understand and counter criminal military adaptation. The psychological impact rippled through criminal organizations worldwide within hours of the convoy's annihilation. Communications intercepts revealed cartel leaders struggling to comprehend how their most secure operation had been eliminated by such a small force. The convoy that was supposed to be impregnable had been destroyed by 300 Marines who demonstrated that superior training and tactics could overcome any numerical or equipment disadvantage. Marine Corps doctrine had proven itself once again. Properly trained and positioned, Marines could defeat enemy forces many times their size through superior tactics, coordinated fire, and the aggressive fighting spirit that had made the Corps legendary. The convoy's destruction would be studied at military academies worldwide as a textbook example of how elite forces could achieve decisive victory against numerically superior opponents. Intelligence teams working in temporary facilities established throughout the canyon began processing evidence that would support operations against criminal networks for years to come. Financial records revealed corruption networks that reached into governments across Latin America. Communication logs showed coordination between criminal organizations on different continents. Personnel effects identified individuals whose elimination had crippled cartel operations in regions far from the Mexican desert. The economic impact was devastating beyond calculation. The $12 billion in destroyed narcotics represented the largest single loss in cartel history. But the true damage lay in the elimination of capabilities that had taken years to develop. The convoy had represented not just drugs, but the expertise, equipment, and organizational knowledge required to operate at military scale. Its destruction had created gaps in criminal operations that might never be filled. Recovery operations revealed the surgical precision of Marine tactics. Despite engaging over 80 heavily armed targets with high explosive weapons, collateral damage to the surrounding environment was minimal. The Marines had eliminated a criminal army while preserving intelligence materials and protecting the natural ecosystem with accuracy that demonstrated the difference between professional military action and indiscriminate violence. Mexican government cooperation with American anti-drug efforts reached new levels as officials realized that criminal organizations with military capabilities posed threats that required military responses. The demonstration that cartel forces could be eliminated by relatively small numbers of properly trained troops made collaboration with American authorities essential for national security. The few cartel members who had somehow avoided the convoy's complete destruction found themselves in a criminal landscape where military-style operations were no longer viable. The Marines had not just won a tactical victory, they had demonstrated that criminal organizations, regardless of their equipment or training, could not match the capabilities of professional military forces. Other criminal organizations abandoned similar projects immediately after analyzing what had happened in the Mexican canyon. Large-scale convoy operations were canceled. Military advisors were dismissed. Investment in sophisticated security measures stopped as criminal leaders realized that such displays of capability only attracted the attention of forces they could not defeat. Environmental assessment teams confirmed that the Marine operation had achieved maximum destruction of criminal assets while minimizing impact on the surrounding ecosystem. Wildlife patterns showed no disruption. Water sources remained uncontaminated. The desert would show no permanent scars from this necessary violence. As investigators continued analyzing evidence recovered from the convoy, the full scope of what had been eliminated became clear. The operation hadn't just been about moving drugs. It had been a demonstration of criminal military capability that could have inspired similar operations worldwide. Its elimination had prevented the spread of techniques that could have militarized drug trafficking in ways that would have required massive military responses. The international implications were immediate and profound. Law enforcement agencies in 28 countries began coordinated operations based on intelligence gathered from the convoy's destruction. Criminal networks that had operated with impunity found themselves under assault from authorities who suddenly possessed detailed knowledge of their operations, finances, and personnel. 300 Marines had delivered a message written in smoke and precision fire. There is no convoy too well defended, no criminal organization too sophisticated, no enemy force beyond the reach of Marine Corps training, tactics, and fighting spirit. The convoy that was supposed to be a fortress had been eliminated by warriors who understood that victory comes not from superior numbers or equipment, but from superior Marines. The drug convoy was wiped out. The cartel's military ambitions were buried in Mexican sand. And the lesson was eternal. Those who threaten American communities will face the full fury of Marines who live by the motto Semper Fidelis, always faithful to the mission of protecting American lives, no matter the odds, no matter the enemy, no matter the cost. The few, the proud, the Marines. And the convoy learned too late why that reputation was earned in blood and victory across 3 centuries of warfare. Semper Fi.